Good afternoon and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the C7. I've already, as you can see, removed all of the screws holding in the bottom two boards, including the one that we want to look at, which is the AS3 board. Just need to be a bit careful with this because it is effectively balancing on its wires, so I'm going to try and do as much of the work as possible with it in this position. We're going to be focusing on the couple of capacitors in the Capstan servo area, around this sort of area, and a couple on the drum servo around this sort of area. What we're looking at, and what I have, just move that out the way, is I have a selection of LEDs, which we're not replacing the capacitors with, but I have a selection of capacitors. You can never have too many capacitors. Also got myself a selection of many resistors because they were quite cheap, and some individual capacitors of differing values as well. Some may be suitable, some may not, but ultimately we do have a good selection of capacitors, so hopefully we have the ones that we need. So what we're going to do first is carefully flick this board over. We're going to replace this little capacitor here, C43, which is that Sanyo capacitor. Now we need to remember that is the negative side. In fact, what we're going to do is I'm going to go and fetch my other phone and take a photo of the location so we know exactly what we're putting back. So I've got the other phone. Let's get the camera mode on. And grab a photo of that capacitor. And whilst I'm here, just need to work out where that goes through on the other side, which will be here between the first two. So you've got one capacitor here, which is, what's this? That's a resistor, that's a capacitor. I think it's this one here. So there, that one. So that is between. So that's a resistor. That's a capacitor. That's a capacitor. But there's another capacitor on the other side, which is. I think that's that one, because that goes onto there. So there's a little sort of button type capacitor. Then I think it's this capacitor, that's the resistor. So there, I think it's, yeah, you can see there's another symbol on the other side, which is, looks like that little symbol there, that's replicated on the other side of the board. So we know that that is the capacitor that we're after. So let's carefully, that wasn't so careful, check I haven't damaged the board. The board looks okay. Wouldn't be a concern if I had, because I've got another of these boards around, but I'd rather stick with this one because it is a known working board. Right, always a fun job. Desoldering. Right, here we go. Bring over the soldering iron. Get that slightly warm. There we go. Slightly warm, and there we go. Now, last thing we want is for that to be contacting that leg of the chip. So let's move that back there. Okay. And blow that out the way. Now, hopefully, if we whip on the other side, we should find that. There we go. One capacitor. So this is one of those dreaded Sanyo ones, and we are looking at, I think that's 1 microfarad, 25 volts. Let's have a look and see what we have in my kit. Right, I've got a 1 microfarad 50 volt, which is one of these. Not even sure if that will work, to be honest. I'm not sure if this is it'll handle a maximum of X amount of voltage, or if it's a minimum of that amount of voltage. I think it's a maximum, so goodness, this is a quandary. Let's see if we have, we've got 50 volt 0.33 microfarads, we've got 50 volt 1 microfarad, 50 volt 0.33, 50 volt 0.47, so we don't seem to have any which are a direct replacement. So we need to remember what side is negative, what side is positive. Flip up the board, I'm going to go with that capacitor that we have just got. So let's refer back to my photo. Who knows what this capacitor will do to the machine? It'll be interesting to find out. Go back to my photo. That is minus is this side. Minus there. So through 1, 2, and we push it all the way. And there it is. You can see it there. Let's gently bring this back over. We've got our capacitor here. Right. There is a bit of track liftage there, so hopefully I do have enough to make a bit of a difference with that track to actually get it on there. This will be interesting. So let's get some solder. Not that one, as that one has not been used yet, so I'd rather not break into fresh solder. I'd rather use solder that's already been used. Now, here we go, here we go. Here goes nothing, as they say. Okay. that's a nice job, even if I say so myself. People will disagree, but I've been soldering since I was about 12, so the trick is to have an iron that is warm enough. Right, first off, let's check that. We may need to get the magnifying glass out, but there's no solder join between those two tracks. The IC, always check that as well, is cool. Yeah, it's cold. Actually it's slightly warm, but no warmer than you'd expect it to be. Now, that's one thing I'm always careful of when I'm doing any work on a machine, which is, and you've got an IC next to it, always minimise the amount of heat you put onto the component that you're replacing, because you don't want to damage the IC itself. If I'm soldering in an IC, I tend to use a couple of little fly leads which I connect to each pin in turn to effectively take heat and sink it away from the IC itself. Right, so we just need to cut these off. Do I have a pair of snips in here? Let's go and fetch some snips. Alright, we've got my snips. So let's 1, 2, 3. There you go. Put a little blob more solder on that one there. Okay, the track is lifted slightly, but hopefully there's enough there to be going on with. No split in the track that I can see, so that is something at least. Right, let's have a look at the next dreaded Sanyo one that we have to replace. So we've done that one up by the IC. That was C43. So we're now looking at C41. So let's have a look at C41. Where's its minus side? C41's minus side is there. You can't really see that from there, but let's move the soldering iron out the way. That's the one that we're replacing next. That's C41. That's another dreaded Sanyo. So what we're going to do is grab a photo of C41. We know the minus side is closest to this little IC here. And that is next to a resistor, and there's that little symbol. I don't know if you can see it there, but there is a little symbol there which we need to match up on the other side. So if we flip this over, keeping that in mind there, that one there. There's our IC. And that's our resistor. And that is our capacitor right there. Let's get the solder sucker out again. Clean off that. Make sure the solder sucker is ready, which it is. So let's do this one first. So get that there. Plop. And try to avoid touching that IC. And plop. There we go. Let's see if that will come out. Where are you, fella? Right. IC3 here. Dreaded. There it is. That dreaded Sanyo capacitor is there. Yeah, there you go. Right, let's check out the value of this one. This one is 0.33 25 volts, so 0.33 25 volts. Right, we've got here, we have 0.33 at 50 volts, 0.47 at 50 volts, 1 microfarad at 50 volts, 0.33 at 50, 50. Great. I'll have to use another 50 volt one. Do not know if this will work, but let's see what happens, shall we? So let's whip that one out. That's another. That is a 0.33 microfarad at 50 volts, and we're taking out a 0.33 at 25 volts. 85 degrees. This one is 40 to 105 degrees, so it's pretty capable of handling more there. And remember, the minus was towards the IC itself, so minus is always a short leg on the capacitor. And it also tells you on there as well, which is quite useful. To double check that, we will review the photograph that we took earlier. And if we look at the photo, yeah, that was the minus next to the capacitor on that one. So there's our minus. Let's flip up the board. Up you come. And let's stick it on in. So that's that one. That one. And through you go. Minus next to the IC. What's that resting? What's that resting actually? Oh, it's probably the cables. We'll work it out in a minute when we put it all back. Right, okay, there she is. Let's make sure that's there. Now, we don't need to be too careful. We've got to avoid bridging onto this little track here. So we'll probably solder in from the right inwards, or outwards rather. So let's do clean off the soldering iron. Let's do this one here first. Okay. There we go, that's that one. Make sure there is still a gap between those two there, which there is. So you always need to be careful of. Take that there, avoiding anything else, and go. Beautiful. Right, that's that one. Okay, let's snip off those excess bits. Right, that's C41, C43 done so far. Those are the dreaded Sanyo capacitors. And we got one more Sanyo capacitor in the drum servo section, I think. And that one is C... I can't even tell what that one is. Blimey, what was that one? It's next to a resistor. C11. Right, so we'll whip this one down carefully, so I'll show you exactly which one it is. This one, C11. It's not close to any ICs, so still need to be careful. Obviously exercise caution at all times. Just make sure those wires are okay. We've got replacements if we do fray any of these, or we've got the soldering iron to join them back together, but I'd rather keep them intact. Minus sign is towards this resistor. Let's lower that down. Carefully does it. And grab a quick photo of its position. So we're looking at this one here. Alright, before we pull it out, let's see what value it is. .47 at 25 volts. We've got a 0.47 at 50 volts, so that's going to have to do. Again, no 25 volt ones. In fact, when I was looking online for 25 volt capacitors, I couldn't find any. Is it a cessation of production of capacitors of 25 volt value? Who knows? Am I looking in the wrong place? Maybe. Right, let's put this one up here. And where is it? What I've done, you see, is I've literally just flipped that back over without memorising where it is on the other side. Right, where are you? Right, you're here. You're a capacitor. Is it that one there? Because there's the resistor right next to it, so it's obviously that one and that one. It's all merged together into a whole mass of other components. So here, so here and here. Lovely, that's going to be fun. Right, let's see if we can extract it. Might have to resolder a load of other stuff as well, so let's see. Yeah, we've exposed a load of other bits and pieces, that's okay. Just need to resolder those, but that's not going to be terrible. Resoldering is always beneficial. Oh, especially in something of this age. So let's go and Bang. Right, let's see if we can use a small screwdriver to separate that away. Oh, I need to melt it off. There she goes. She should just pop out in that case. Right. Whip round to the other side. Yep. Right, Sanyo. There you go. Sanyo's out. Not 0.47, 25 volts. Okay. Not 0.47, 50 volts. Great. Okay, that's very shape bent. Right, 0.47 at 50 volts minus was toward the resistor. Double check on the photo for that I took earlier. Yep, minus towards that resistor and also a transistor, which is there as well. So that's going to be minus. That's going to be, don't know where. Oh, blimey. Where are you? There's one hole. And oh, come on, there's the other hole. There you go, minus towards that resistor. There we go, let's put them all into the centre like it was before. What we'll do now is solder up all of those. That's one way to do it. That's really annoying. Ah, the smell of solder. Alright, that's better. Put all of those together. This one here now, so that one. There. I think that might need a bit of sandpaper in on the tip, though it's getting a bit. That's a good clean, I think. That's better. Right, let's have a look. So we did this one. So let's just remove some of the scurf around it. That was your three components together. Chippy chop this capacitor down. One and two. If I remember rightly from what I've read, those Sanyo ones are the ones that typically cause trouble. So let's just Get off some more of this debris residue. Looking better. Make sure there's no bridge between there. Which there isn't, that's that transistor, incidentally. And I think we are good to go. Right, I'm going to reassemble the machine now, and in a moment we will be testing it. So that's the machine reassembled, and there, if we can focus on, that's better, put some shade in front of it, are our 3 dodgy Sanyo capacitors. Well, they can't be that dodgy, as they have lasted, well, probably this machine started exhibiting problems about 15 to 18 years ago, so they lasted a good nearly 20 years or so before developing problems. But of everyone that I've spoken to and all the forums that I've checked, it's these ones, these 3, which cause the most number of issues when it comes to drum and capstan lock. So let's wheel out the television and fire her up. Right, so I've fired up the C7. It's paused at the moment. Can't really hear any drum hunting, so let's hit play, see what happens. Oh my! Would you look at that? Perfect picture. Fast forward search. Rewind search won't work because I need to redo those belts, but yeah, I need to redo those belts, rubbers, tyres. X free speed. Not bad, not bad. But look at that. Those 3 capacitors, replacing those, and I'm so pleased we have fixed this machine's playback issues. That's wonderful. I'm so pleased with that. That is really good. Picture isn't as good as it would be on a CRT because obviously we are playing back through this LCD panel. LCD panels have a native resolution, usually, well, 2 native resolutions I think on this HD set. So 720p and 1080p, so that's 1920 by 1080 and 1360 by 720. CRTs don't seem to have a native resolution, seem much better at handling different resolutions, especially low resolutions like this, which is 240p, which is, I don't know, 320 by 240 if you were going to do it in that kind of resolution. But I'm really pleased with this. Those capacitors seem to be holding up. The next challenge is going to be fixing this shoddy mess. That's going to come next week. So we're going to basically strip down the clock module and we're going to take a look and see if there's anything we can do with this clock module. It'll never be used again for its timer purposes, but it would just be nice to have it working, to be honest with you. But I'm so pleased, that is looking wonderful. Sound quality is not bad at all. Yeah, very pleased indeed. I've managed to fix something. That's always a bonus. Anyway, let's hit pause and see what it does. Seems that sort of noise bar travelling down. We've got a slow motion feature as well, which if I do that, almost got it in a frame by frame basis. So down we go. Down to complete pause. Not a bad quality pause actually for a 2-head machine. There's still some noise bars on it, but It's far from terrible. We've also got a frame advance, so we can go frame, 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 I think. Is it? Yeah, if I hold it down, it's doing a frame at a time. I think in the PAL region, which is what we're in, that's 25 frames a second. If you look at the tape itself, you can see it advancing very gradually. For some reason it's still advancing. It might be a dirty contact on that slow motion slider. Yeah, that's paused now. Anyway, that's it for today. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, and also consider subscribing for more upcoming fascinating hobbies and further developments with this C7. Once again, thank you very much for watching.